At the level of the mind, every action has an equal reaction. I'm the mind, much more powerful than the brain. Wahiguru, 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 Wahiguru. Superconscious mind. Well, I have already acquainted you in brief with my superconscious state while explaining to you about the mind of children. As I have stated earlier, concentration, enthusiasm, self-confidence, and interesting qualities of this state of mind. Any person who has achieved great success in life, whether he knows it or not, has achieved it because of his subconscious mind being active. Let us try to understand this state of mind against the backdrop of the life of the great scientist Thomas Edison, who not only invented the bulb and illuminated the entire world, but also got a record number of 1,093 patents registered to his name. You all must be aware of the 7-year-old Edison was labeled a weak student by his school teachers. They had a problem with him asking numerous questions on each topic. When Edison's mother Nancy, a teacher by profession, learned about this, she could not bear the humiliation of her much loved child. Having complete faith in her son's ability, she took a brave decision to withdraw Edison from that school. Later, Nancy enrolled him in a couple of other schools, but neither did Edison change, nor did the attitude of the schools towards him. So Edison's mother finally decided to homeschool him. This one decision made by Sensei changed in Edison's life forever. Edison was finally free from the daily humiliation which was subjected at school. Needless to say, now little Edison did not have to suppress his love and anger, and certainly his conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind did not get strengthened. Little Edison did not face any problem with his mother's affectionate manner of teaching. On the other hand, his mother also did not mind the number of questions her darling son would ask. In fact, she admired and appreciated his curiosity to learn new things. Studying for the 3-4 years under the guidance of his mother, Edison was attracted to his science and his experiments. But due to financial condition of his family, he had no option but to fend for himself. However, that hardly posed a problem for Edison. Faith and immense love were available to Edison in abundance from his mother. So in order to earn, 11-year-old Edison got a shop to sell fruits and sold newspapers on a train. From the money he earned, he set up a laboratory of his own at home, and when the opportunity arose, he set up a laboratory in the train as well. But when a child conducts experiments, mishaps are bound to follow. And that is precisely what happened. As a result, many times the shutters of his laboratory were pulled down, either by his father or by the train conductor. But as I said, enthusiasm, concentration, and self-confidence are the intrinsic attributes of the subconscious mind. Ultimately, this uneducated but perseverant and determined Edison not only had the highest number of inventions of his time to his credit, not only had the highest number of inventions of its time to his credit, but also gave us the most spectacular of his inventions, the bulb, which illuminated the entire world. If you look through the pages of the Edison's life, you'll realize that all his achievements are nothing but the outcome of his concentration, enthusiasm, and self-confidence. I hope by now you have understood how important it is to preserve your superconscious mind of the child. Without the superconscious mind being active, even if the child secures numerous degrees and acquires 1,000-odd jobs, he can lead threatened success or happiness. This point can best be understood by citing the life of the Helen Keller, the symbol of perseverance in this world, as an example. With the lively and vivacious Helen, was just about 1.5-year-old, she caught a scarlet fever. Though the fever was treated, it robbed her of her ability to hear and see. But in this hour of grief, instead of brooding over the tragedy, Helen's mother, Catherine, and father, Arthur Keller, decided to concentrate on her upbringing. Though Helen's life was plunged in darkness, the parents showered her with so much love that her superconscious mind remained intact. Her caring parents fulfilled all her wishes. As a result, little Helen did not have to suppress her anger and love in spite of the terrible tragedy that had struck her. When Helen was around 7 years old, a teacher named Annie entered her life, who kindled the desire to study in Helen. Very soon, Helen learned how to form words, read them, and also frame sentences with them, which undoubtedly was a miracle in itself. Deaf and visually challenged Helen was now started reading. Annie had begun to teach her with the help of the letters engraved on the cardboard. Now there was no question that Helen, who had lost two of her primary senses, could find anything more interesting. From then on, there was no looking back. Annie's devotion, coupled with Helen's enthusiasm, was so well tuned that by the age of 11, Helen learned how to type as well. Thanks to her newly learned skill, she found a new medium to express her emotions, meaning Helen was earlier shrouded in darkness, now had her communication established by the world. Hereafter, she felt much great urge to study that books with letters embossed in wooden blocks were being made especially for her. With the help of these embossed words, Helen started reading and even memorizing entire works. This remarkable achievement drew appreciation and praises for Helen from across the world, and overnight she became a world-renowned personality. With her determination and devotion, Helen was also secured a graduate degree, which indeed was a historical moment witnessed by the entire world. Helen's remarkable journey did not end here. She then developed a keen interest in socialism, which in turn gave rise to compassion in her. The ever enthusiastic Helen then devoted herself to the cause of improving the state of the affairs of the disabled and the physically challenged. For this purpose, she, with sheer determination, also learned how to express different words based on the coordination between the lips and the tongue. Then to spread the message of the socialism for the upliftment of the disabled, she began addressing large gatherings of people who earned her immense appreciation and brought in many accolades. Thousands of people began to flock to listen to her speeches and understand her views. Helen would move her lips, and teacher, based on the positioning of her lips and tongue, would interpret to the crowd what she meant to express, and this is how communication was established between Helen and the world. Helen even achieved an astounding feat of authoring 12 works, moreover, for the upliftment of the disabled, the perseverant Helen. Even in the age of 72, several northeastern countries for as many as 12 years. This was definitely the height of her concentration, enthusiasm, and self-confidence. In all the countries she visited, President and Prime Minister of the country yearned to meet her, along with other renowned personalities from various walks of life. So great was her adulation that even that when she died at the age of 88, she had communicated with as many as 12 presidents of the United States of America. Just reflect upon Helen's historical life and her glorious achievements. Does the journey of life reflect anything but singular orientation, enthusiasm, and self-confidence? Here the point to contemplate upon is the superconscious mind can best do as humorous. Such humongous success on Helen, who had lost her ability to hear and see. Just imagine what great wonders it can work for in your life. The essence of this discussion is everyone is aware of the fact that in order to achieve great success in life, one needs to have enthusiasm, self-confidence, and concentration. In fact, a person himself is desirous of achieving these traits, and often others also devise him and impart the lessons of nurturing such good traits. But the question here is your enthusiasm going to sow because you desire so, or because others is pressing you for the same? If these measures were effective, would everyone not have filled with enthusiasm and self-confidence long ago? All these qualities are not now available in the market, or else you would have long purchased them and replenished the deficiency. The fact is, these qualities are nothing but the very nature of the superconscious mind. Without the superconscious mind being active, you may rack your brains empty times and resort to numerous solutions, but your enthusiasm and self-confidence, or even your concentration for that matter, is not going to increase. All this is possible only upon the activation of the superconscious mind, and your superconscious mind can become active only on one condition, that is your conscious and subconscious mind should be weak. So I hope, leaving the various so-called solutions aside, you will now focus on activating my superconscious state lying dormant within you. I would say at least refrain from unnecessarily tampering with the already active superconscious mind of the child and consequently weakening it. Wow. Collective conscious mind. When this powerful state of mind manifests in its intense form, it automatically connects to the minds of all other human beings. And certainly because of this attribute, the collective conscious mind has the potential to take human life of greater unprecedented heights, a matter of reprieve for you is this state is invariably active in every human being, though its degree may vary from person to person. The occurrence of numerous instances and events wherein most people are compelled to think alike is a consequence of my active collective conscious state. While understanding the comprehensive will requires further explanation, and to make it simpler, I shall explain it with the help of a few examples. Many a time, your interest must have definitely piqued when you notice a song become a chart buster overnight. You may have with the masses. You must have also witnessed with the slogan coined by a leader suddenly strikes the chord of the masses and makes him immensely popular within a short span of time. These instances imply that there is a state of mind which leads to most people having similar likes and dislikes. To throw further light on this point, let me explain that it's the example of Lady Diana. We are all aware that Lady Diana was always making headlines. Her wardrobe, her sense of style, her fashion was always the talk of the town, and her numerous social service endeavors also attracted a great deal of attention. But her popularity was not enough to bring the world to a standstill, but it did. Astonishingly, the entire world watched her funeral ceremony. The enormous number of people who viewed her funeral on television around the world has created a record that which might never be broken. What had happened? It was just that I, in my collective conscious state, propelled everyone to react there. So now I hope with this example you must have understood both the process of the state of mind and its system of functioning. The mind and the brain are two absolutely different entities. Most importantly, here you must bear in mind that experiences embedding the impulses of my collective conscious state is entirely not a proof of this state being positively active in you, because the person in whom my collective conscious state is moderatively active never falls prey to such impulses. On the contrary, becomes capable of accurately causing the collective likes and dislikes of people using the parlance of the today's professionally driven world. Such a person becomes an expert in the precise identification of the pulse of the people, and how important it is to gauge the pulse of the people in today's world needs no mention. In order to identify and harness the pulse of the people, millions are being spent on market survey every year. Which product will set like hotcakes? Which tangent will strike a chord with the people and make them buy the product? Which slogan will ensure the overwhelming mandate of the elections? Which storyline will make the crowds flock in the threads? In short, be it leaders, actors, or even giant corporates, for everyone, everything revolves around the question: what are the likes and dislikes of the masses? What is no need to iterate? Iterate that the person in whom the collective conscious state has become active gaze directly connected to the likes and dislikes of the people. Thereafter, regardless of the field of the choice, he is bound to become an overnight success. However, the ability to identify the pulse of the masses is not the one and only peculiarity of the collective conscious state. Just by applying a little concentration, the person with the active collective conscious mind can easily discern what the other might be thinking and intending to do at any given moment, irrespective of the distance between these locations or the amount of time lapsed since the last meeting. This is precisely what you know as the telepathy in today's language. The most advantageous trait of this state of mind is your will have the premonition of any plan and conspiracy hatched against you. This prior awareness will surely lead you to become cautious as well. In that state, how can you ever be trapped on any problem? That's needless to say. Peace and happiness becomes your destiny. Not only this, if my collective conscious state of functioning at its peak in a person, then with the application of even a little concentration, he has influenced anyone to alter the course of their thinking. In short, what I mean is the person in whom my collective consciousness state becomes active automatically rid himself of the numerous problems and skills of the peaks of success and happiness in life. Let me explain that the language of your interest, not as no one can beat you when it comes to grasping the matters of selfish interest. Well, it will be in your interest to know that the collective conscious mind is active in everyone, but the difference being it's weak or is strong, because this state of mind is weak in most people. They are exploited and through their life, all through their life. As a result, in spite of them working hard and putting in a great deal of effort, bliss and success eludes them. The reason is clear: because of their weak collective conscious mind, they are always trapped in an ordinary mindset. And that is why fanning their fear and greed, they are being exploited by one and all. Perhaps you may not have paid attention to this, but do you have any idea about the extent to which you have exploited in the name of the religion by the so-called religious group, by the be the be it the birth of the child, marriage or death? You have no choice but to seek their help for performing the rites and rituals. Not only this, on numerous other occasions, either by giving you false assurances or by inciting fear in your mind, they make you perform one or the other religious rites or rituals. And mind you, all this does not happen for free. You have to pay them dakshina. Moreover, these people have deeply ingrained in you the habit of visiting temples, mosques, churches, donating large sums of money. Thanks to this slavery on your part, and today, as many as 50 million people in the world are living off the funds donated by you. You cannot even imagine the amount of the wealth these people have amassed. Have you ever thought about how rich these temples and churches are growing each day? And where is all this wealth coming from? All this is nothing but your hard and money. Now think, if someone else is reaping benefits from your hard work, how will you progress in life? Just think, besides slavery and poverty, what are they gaining out of all this? Why do you think about this from another perspective? In spite of so many people regularly visiting temples, churches, and mosques, how many of them have become happy and successful, or have had their problems eradicated and done right? Then why do you expect it to happen in your life? The answer is obvious. You're bound to suffer such futile exploitation because of your weak collective conscious mind getting easily influenced by anyone. I cannot understand why you are unnecessarily nurturing 50 million people. Why do you not realize that? How will those who are incapable of doing anything for themselves and are living off your charity uplift your life? Why do you not make them work hard instead of merely pouring your heart and money who into their greedy hands? If you collectively compel these people to work in their fields, you will see for yourself how the cost of the food grains comes crashing down across the world overnight. Moreover, it is not only religion or the religion has to exploit you. The list is long, instilling fear under the pretext of health. Even some doctors exploit you. Medicines and medical tests, vitamins and health supplements, the list is endless. Have you ever given a serious thought to whether you really need all this? Upon a little contemplation, you will realize that the garb of improving your health or even alleviating your sickness, some people are busy looting your heart and mind. And what can you say of the large companies and their bizarre products? Regardless of whether you need them, they plant into you the product with tempting advertisements. Have you ever thought how many useless products that your innocent children to buy with their enticing advertisements? Do you ever contemplate the necessity of the product before participating in? No, owing to your weak collective conscious mind, you are compelled to purchase all these necessary and unnecessary products according to the purchase power. Likewise, educational institutions too are rampantly exploiting you with the name of the best. Wow. When life itself is driven by the mind, and when the mind is governed by its laws, can there be anything more important than understanding the laws of the mind? Spontaneous mind. I hope you must have understood collective conscious mind and its influences. Now I shall proceed further and throw light on the existence of my spontaneous mind and its influences. My spontaneous mind is an interesting part of the nature of spontaneous consciousness. A person in whom his spontaneous state is active does not think. He starts making all the decisions in the life as per the directives of this state of mind, and immensely puts the directives of this mind into action. He neither thinks of his gain or loss nor of his being good or bad. This definitely calls for immense faith. Only a courageous person can put such an act of courage well. That can be mustered. But the question that needs to be answered is, how does a spontaneous mind become active and what are its uses? Yes, you're probably right. Only if we are convinced about its benefits will we muster the courage. Well then, my spontaneous mind becomes active in the person who lives every second in his life in his passion and joy, a person who does not pay any attention to anything other than his own field of interest, persistently leading his life in the pursuit of this passion and joy. Suddenly one day his point of creativity becomes active. This point of creativity is a part of its own subconscious spontaneous mind, which can suddenly get triggered one day in the field of its interest. The point of the note here is all the great success in the world are nothing but the result of the one of this point of creativity being active. Then whether it is the finest poetry or literature, enthralling dance or music, the most beautiful painting or any other piece of art, whether it is an innovative project or concept or an out of the box idea in business or even a new discovery or invention of science, none of this is attainable without the point of creativity being active. Here we must note that creativity is nature's domain. Then how can creativity ever flow without getting attuned to nature? It is not possible. No creativity can be accomplished just by thinking, confining oneself to boundaries and limitations, or being determined by it. Creativity simply flows from within the accordance with nature's laws, meaning it manifests of its own in the form of beautiful creation once the point of creativity has become active. And this is the very reason why a poet, singer, or any other creative person cannot decide beforehand as to what creativity he will produce and when. Nor can he produce anything creative as per his yearning and need. No matter how accomplished an artist but in order to produce anything creative, he has to wait for the impulses to come from within. A man has not one but many states of mind. This dependence on impulses for creativity is what artists fondly refer to as mode. When you are unable to produce anything creative, they term it as not being in the mood. And so, what exactly is the mood? You wish to compose a melodious tune, but at that moment, your point of creativity is not sending any impulses for a tune from within. Do not worry about wait. Just wait. Once it starts sending you the impulses, wonderful creations will follow. That will just happen. In short, you cannot create something you will not at your will or desire, but it is I who sends it forth as per my laws. If you glimpse through the history of the mankind, you will realize that whoever has achieved great success has achieved it effortlessly the moment their point of activity became active. They created something exceptionally innovative, and then the innovation is exceptional. It is bound to become an instant hit. His fame is bound to resonate across the ocean, and his glory is bound to be trumpeted all over the world. Besides, you achieve success in life only when you create something new and revolutionary, be it an invention, just as a computer, or an innovation, such as an Apple or Facebook. The thumb rule is innovation rules the world. I hope that with the above explanation you have understood the history underlying all the happy and successful people in the world, and also discern the reason behind their successes. And if you really wish to achieve phenomenal success in life, spare time and read through the biographies of 50 to 100 great legends. You'll understand the fact that I'm trying to bring to light all along. Advancing from our discussion about the point of creativity, I will now tell you about the primary qualities of the spontaneous mind. The most important qualities of this state of mind is none of its decisions are influenced by an external power or factors. Instead of analyzing the situation, the person in this state of mind follows and acts according to what his mindset is at the spur of the moment. He puts it precisely instead of taking the decision on the basis of what is good and bad for him or analyzing the situation to safeguard his own interests. He depends on whatever this state of mind prompts him to do at that particular moment. In such situation, his decisions seem quite shocking. Generally, these decisions are perceived as wrong or inappropriate by others at first, but in the end, these decisions are always proved right because ultimately these decisions stem from my spontaneous state. Here it is imperative to understand one more thing related to life, and that is which direction your life will head to. And depends upon that the decisions you take. The greater the number of right decisions, the happier your life will be, perhaps even. Everyone is aware of this fact too, and this is the reason why people take major decisions of their life after due deliberation. However, the results of the decision that were taken after much deliberation are evident to all of us. The failures of human beings are not hidden from anyone. It clearly implies the decision taken after much deliberation or decision taken after the application of brain have been proved wrong. This is the reason why I'm teaching you the art of taking the right decisions. All the right decisions are always spontaneous and vice versa. And this is the ability to take spontaneous decision cannot be achieved without the spontaneous mind being active. To put it explicitly, no businessman can ever become successful without the state of the mind being active in him. Spontaneous mind is the state of mind which has the fundamental knowledge about everything. In fact, the state is interested only in the basics. This mind does not delve deep into the nitty-gritty of the matters or get into details. It simply is not interested in elaborate detailed agreements, useless inquiries or discussion merely on the basis of a few facts. This state of mind promptly takes the biggest of the decision in the most appropriate manner. At the same time, neither does it repent after taking such decision nor does it backtrack on them. If you ever repent and backtrack after taking spontaneous decision, then it is clearly indicated that your spontaneous mind is not fully active as yet, because decisions taken by spontaneous minds are always right. Thus, the question of repenting or backtracking simply does not arise. Well, it is important to note that here that people who analyze or discuss a lot before arriving at a decision often have to repent over their decisions. Moreover, such people also accustomed to backtracking from their decisions, which consequently tarnishes their reputation. At the same time, excessive discussions and deliberation being finally arriving at a decision result in extensive wastage of time. Now, how can a wastrel of time who has lost his reputation ever become a successful businessman? Putting all the above facts together, you'll realize that not only the people we who take all the important decisions of their life with the help of the spontaneous mind are able to scale the pinnacle of success. Many people refer to the quality of spontaneous mind as intuition or voice of the heart as well, but in reality they are nothing but various names given to my spontaneous mind, ultimate mind. 4. Now, lastly, let us come to the most powerful and most important state of mind, that is ultimate mind. Comprehending its influence and area of functioning is a little difficult, but still I'll try my best to explain it to you in the simplest manner possible. Just think, there is so much drama happening around you, so much interplay between the brain and the mind happening within you. But here is what you ought to be aware of. There is someone who's watching all this drama unfold. That is why you are aware of all that is happening. If you have a little deeper, you will realize there is someone on whose screen all this drama is being played. Have you ever thought about it in this manner? Have you ever reflected upon it? Who that someone could be? I doubt you have. If you are able to think in this manner, you would have marched towards phenomenal progress a long time ago. For now, I will try to explain the profound subject to you, but from catalyst measure film screening at theaters. Who makes the film that is screened in theaters? Definitely the producer, director, actors, etc. Similarly, the makers of the film of your life are now none other than your own mind, brain, and external factors and circumstances that are surrounded by it. Just as a film made by the producer is exhibited on the screen, your life film made by your very own mind and the brain is also displayed on the screen, and the screen on which it is shown is ultimate mind. In other words, that is exactly who you are. You owe your very existence to the ultimate mind. Your ultimate mind is nothing but the prana. It is because of your ultimate mind that your mind, brain, body, and the heart all function. But since it is out of your reach at present, you are ignorant about it. But the one who's able to dwell upon until this state of mind achieves everything in life, because then he remains unchanged forever. After all, how can the screen be affected by the number of ups and downs of the sad scenes they come in the film? Similarly, how can the man who has successfully reached this state of mind be marked by the numerous ups and downs that come in his life? Meanwhile, then there is no danger posed to his joy, peace, happiness, bliss. And remember, if a man has scaled the heights of consciousness, that is the ultimate mind, he has reached it after surpassing all the other powerful states. This means he has reached ultimate mind only after successfully activating my power centers one by one. As a result, he is well aware of the characteristics and the functioning of all those power centers. As and when the needs arise, he can utilize my power centers whenever and in whichever manner he lies. If you decipher the obvious meaning of all this, it means that such a person then reigns over the entire mankind. I have explained the state of mind in brief and in the simplest manner possible. I hope you must have understood it well. With this, the end of the discussion about my various tests, their system of functioning and their influences. Wow, beautiful. My correlation with others. That was amazing mind. You have presented yourself so well that it seems no other entity is as important as you in our life, as if you are the sole reason behind all our joy, sorrows, and success, as if our body, brain, and senses hold no significance whatsoever, as if the world, country, and society or circumstances exerts no influence on our life. Wow, so now you are talking like an extra intelligent person. I have just begun and have not yet completed what I have to say, but as it is open for discussion, let me elaborate upon it. The brain, body, external circumstances certainly influence human life, but when human life gets affected by these factors, how can I possibly remain unaffected by them? All these factors definitely influence me in one way or another, but how and in what manner is a little complicated. Nevertheless, I am on my path. I will try to explain it to you in the simplest manner possible, and for this purpose, I will tell you about the correlation between your body and me. The correlation between your body and me. Before I begin any discussion pertaining to this topic, you first need to understand the composition of your body. The human body is an extent is dependent on its DNA and genes. At the same time, it is influenced by external factors as well. For example, if you're born in a native European, you will most likely be fair, whereas if you're born in African native, there's a high possibility that you'll have dark complexion. Similarly, if you have an Oriental lineage, you will most probably have a petite frame. Likewise, the genes and the DNA have strong influence on your health too. In addition, your health is also affected by the place of your birth and the family you're born into. Now, if I were to talk about myself, irrespective of the country, time zone, and situation you're often in, that is, your mind remain the same. All the above factors have no effect either on me or my system of functioning, meaning at the level of mind, there's no difference amongst human beings. Well, this was all about my way of being and that of the body. As far as correlation between us is concerned, that is the body and mind, both of us are definitely affected by each other. For example, if a person is suffering from acidity, then I invariably become restless and anxious with immediate effect. Similarly, if I am gripped with anxiety, then it is inevitably leads to a rise in the acidity level of a person. In the same way, if a man's body is affected by sickness of pain, then I will become sad and anxious. However, let me clarify here that I definitely get affected by your body, but the extent of effect is entirely determined by the frame of the mind of each human being. People living in conscious or subconscious mind get severely affected by the physical conditions of their body, whereas people living in subconscious state and states higher than that are scarcely affected by the physical condition. An apt example for this would be Stephen Hawking. Despite his several physical constraints, he is considered to be one of the few renowned geniuses in the world today. Astonishingly, he had lost his speech function and complete mobility of the body by merely learning to express himself by twitching his cheeks. He has attained phenomenal success in the field of science. Essentially, what I mean is, if the mind is a strong physical handicaps or malfunctions of the body are never influence. In other words, the body does not affect me much, but yes, my influence on the human body is significant. So much so that most of the illnesses contracted by the human being are a result of the weak mind. A strong and blissful mind in itself is capable of conquering 1,000 illnesses. Meanwhile, even in order to keep your body healthy, it is necessary that you pay due attention to me. Without me, even the sustenance of the human body is difficult, and that is the relation between me and the human body. Although both of us influence each other here too, I prevail over the human body. Let me explain this to you with an example. One day, all of a sudden, a mother's right hand got paralyzed. In spite of the intensive treatment provided by the doctor, she did not recover. Finally, she was referred to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist hypnotized the lady and began questioning to her about the important tasks she performed with the now paralyzed right hand. Sobbing, the lady began to woefully tell. One day, I had caught my son stealing and had ruthlessly beaten him with my right hand. But I sincerely repented by my act then, and I still do. I mercilessly hammered my poor child, as if he were an animal. By inflicting such pain on my child, my hand should be cut off. The real cause behind the paralysis was now revealed. The woman's right hand was paralyzed because of the guilt her mind had contracted. The psychiatrist had reasoned with her, saying that had she not been strict on her child, she would have caught him stealing. There were chances of him growing up. The child would have actually become a thief. So what did you was absolutely right and necessary. In fact, it was the right hand that has saved your son's life. well in time. Consequently, the woman's guilt vanished, and so did her peddlers. See the marvels I will pull off. I can pull off now. If I talk about your marvelous days, then despite the fact that I am so important for your life, you all do not show any interest whatsoever in either knowing or understanding me. Having said that, let us proceed further with my correlation with the other factors and entities. My correlation with circumstances, without a doubt, the country surrounding and circumstances of such a person is born greatly influences life, as the effect of the influence created by this factor definitely affect the man's life and being. That is the minus one. A child born in a poor family living in the countryside has to toil night and day from childhood to honor living. In fact, to become successful, he has to migrate to the city and struggle day in day out. But still, as I have stated numerous times, irrespective of the external circumstances of human being, I am always present in everyone in equal measure. I uphold only one principle: keep my subconscious state intact. And if you do not able to, then every possible effort to rekindle it, and then see how I will protect you and rescue you from various factors, external and circumstances, thereby making your life happy and successful. Indeed, history stands witness to my claim. Whether it is in the field of the music or art, the science and the business, a majority of the people have always been uneducated, hailing from poor families. In short, external factors and circumstances definitely affect the life of a human being, but with the support of my power, one can enter these factors in effective and reach the pinnacle of success. My correlation with the brain. It is the most complicated yet the most important topic of all that we have discussed so far. I have already spoken extensively to the topic varying from my proposition to my system of functioning. I have also started earlier that the complicated nature of a mechanism and always rendered it difficult for most people and serious of the society to comprehend me. Here let me bring up to light that the brain in itself is a very intricate instrument, yet the most ironical situation faced by man is hardly anyone knows the difference between the brain and me. Oh, talking about differences. Most people do not even have the faintest idea about the separate existence of the brain and the me. Yes, a few psychologists have definitely accepted and acknowledged my existence, but honestly speaking, in larger context, everyone is completely delusional. As far as my existence is concerned, some people consider me to be a part of the brain, whereas some, on the basis of this new discovery, believe me to be the cerebrum located in the back of the head. However, there certainly are some people who accept me as a complicated mechanism comprising waves and frequencies. Today, let me elaborate upon the differences between the brain and me. To be honest, it's not that complicated because not only our influences in areas of functioning, but both are the systems of functioning also radically different. The mind does not have any physical existence in the body. Brain the brain in itself is a complicated structure having a physical body existence in the mind. In the body, I'm also a complicated mechanism, but merely a play of frequencies. I have no physical existence in the body. The brain weighs around 3 pounds, that is around 1.25 kilogram, and it contains approximately 10 billion nerves cells called neurons. It is impossible to quantify my frequencies. The development of the brain varies from individual and to individual. Indeed, it depends on the factors such as DNA, genes, and circumstances. I am present in everyone with equal measure. No individual or no factor has any influence over my existence. The brain is of this particular birth, and it becomes a sharp or weakens according to its experiences. Additionally, it becomes enhanced by energy. I am fueled by only one thing, the energy of the human being, and I am as old as the human existence. The brain cannot be governed by any rule or law. I am completely governed by my set of laws, which make me quite predictable. Brain is an expert at thinking. Thoughts constantly keep flowing in and out of it. I am a world of emotions. To control and govern the body is the function of the brain. I do not directly control the body. The brain is potent with the power to restrain my weaker frequencies. In fact, it constantly suppresses the weaker frequencies arising at my level, then whether they are those of love and anger. Without any rhyme or reason, the brain keeps suppressing the frequencies arising at my level, but when my powerful frequencies emerge riding high in their intensities, they get beyond the brain control, irrespective of the brain's effort to control it. When an intense emotion of fear, anger sustains It stems from my depth, it invariably gets released. The brain is an expert at thinking, planning, strategizing, analysis, and management. None of these tasks fall under my purview of functioning. From society or tradition, everything is a creation of human brain. I have nothing to do with society or with tradition or custom. The brain gets influenced by others and simultaneously it tries to impress others as well. I have nothing to do with anyone else. I'm complete in my own self. The brain's focus is always on the necessities of life, and it must be accepted here that the foundation of human progress is to be solely attributed to this characteristic of the brain. It is here that the harmony between the brain and me manifests. My powers are abundantly utilized for the fulfillment of the necessities recognized by the brain. The brain possesses memory. The function of the brain is to gather and store information. I have no memory. I function on automation in accordance with the law that governs me. Brain recognizes things by differentiating between them. Good, bad, right, wrong, sin, virtue are the distinctions upheld by the brain. I do not recognize or act upon things by differentiating between them. The brain has nothing to do with the natural activity. I am absolutely creative. In fact, it would be more appropriate to say creativity is indulgent and solely my domain. The brain has innumerable needs. It is ambitious by nature. I do not need anything except by my mood. The brain is extrovert by nature. I'm introvert by nature. The brain is an expert at leading in life or confiding condition. I do not accept the kind of bondage or confinement. The brain cannot do anything without thinking. I do not think. I'm completely spontaneous by nature. All the actions of the brain are calculative in nature, meaning selfishness is the intrinsic quality underlying all its thinking. For me, my joy is supreme. If each moment passes as a desire, I do not need anything else, then I do not care about its positive and negative consequences. The brain is incapable of decoding calculations that are enormous and complex in nature. I'm an expert not only on calculations of the world but also cosmic calculations. The brain is always focused on others. My world begins and ends with me. The brain is completely ignorant of the structure of the composition of the world, laws of nature, and several enigmatic mysteries that influence human life. In this universe, nothing is mysterious for my power center. All the tasks executed by the brain are effectuated only after due deliberation, hence they lack the natural flow, whereas I simply flow, and this is the reason why all the finest creations flow from within me. Since the brain is unaware of the mysteries of existence, it compels a person to live in a shadow of fear. Since I am aware of all the mysteries, I strongly believe in living fearlessly. The thinking of the brain is limited only to this birth. I act on the basis of the calculations stretching to infinity and beyond. The brain is devious by nature. With logic as its weapon, it persistently engages itself in providing itself right and others wrong, defending and safeguarding itself in the main task of the brain. I'm simple and straightforward. I'm the way I am. What I do not even think, where is the question of the logic when I do not discriminate between the right, wrong, or mind, yours? How does the question of harming someone or saving someone arise? To whom do I need to exhibit, and from whom do I need to hide? Well, I really hope that after such an in-depth discussion, you must have understood the difference between the brain and me to a great extent. You must have also realized that we both are extremely important and powerful in our respective realms. We would have also grasped both of us are not only greatly influence each other but also constantly engaged in the battle of dominance over one another. Such being the case, it is needless to say that our never-ending quest for dominance turns your life into shambles. Because just like me, that is the mind, the brain too has a positive as well as a negative side to it. Hence, without the appropriate balancing and tuning of the brain and me, that is the mind, it is not easy for you to make your life happy and successful. Hence, it is extremely necessary to grasp the differences between both. Most importantly, if you are able to differentiate between the good and the bad acts of the brain, you will definitely be saved from several unnecessary problems. To this effect, if I were to talk about the utility of the brain, it is very useful to analyze, identify needs, imagine, and to a certain extent memorize things. So this is the list of the life nurturing activities facilitated by the brain, and the brain must be utilized to the fullest of carrying out these tasks. On the other hand, if I were to talk about the ills hidden in the brain, then it is usually necessary equally necessary for you to save yourself from its selfish tendencies and its attempts to suppress the emotions that flow from it with or without reason. For all, I have a world of my own which about the brain is completely ignorant. The brain stays into action to crush all those emotions which it thinks are not immediate benefit, and I have no qualms about confessing here that though I am a universal entity, the human brain has the power to decide whether or not it wants to live in the emotions that flow from me. And to tell you the truth, this very power vested with the brain is proving to be detrimental to the well-being of human beings. In summation, there is no other solution to make your life successful other than understanding the differences between the brain and me. Like me, even the brain has both the good and the bad influences. Needless to say, only the utilizing of good influences, positive exerted by me and the brain, as well as eluding the negative influences cast by us, can your life be steered onto the path of progress. At the same time, it is also equally crucial for a man to learn to fine-tune and maintain the harmony between these two powerful entities. Repercussions of suppressing me. Wow. Now that you have grasped the fact that only the brain can stop the influences arising at mind level, let us also discuss the reasons behind it and its repercussions. It is imperative to make you understand why I am forewarning you against the brain's suppression of the emotions most natural to me. If you wish to be happy and successful life, it is crucial for you to understand this in depth. Not only this, once understood, you will also have to persuade your brain to refrain from suppressing my impulses. However, all this is easier said than done, as it demands both perspicacious and courage on your part. But I hope, after learning about the grave consequences of repression of my natural impulses by the brain, you will generate the requisite understanding and muster the necessary courage. So now first understand, why does the brain suppress the emotions that emanate at my level? Let me explain it to you with the example of anger. If anger emanates at my level, that is at the level of the mind, then why does the brain restrict it from getting released completely? That is because the brain finds the anger ultimately, or fears that the person at the receiving end will get upset or feel offended. Often there's an apprehension that the person on whom you intend to vent out your anger might cause you harm in the future, and every often the brain has perceived the said individual as a person useful for the future. Hence, your brain rationalizes and arises at the conclusion why unnecessary strain the relationship with someone. Now, regardless of the reason, it leads to a situation wherein you have anger brewing within, but do you not allow it to be expressed? But think, just by not expressing that anger, does it remain hidden? Can the person with you are angry with not see it? Of course he can, either partially or completely. He definitely figures out there is something baleful brewing within you. However, funnily enough, he too keeps his mind observations to himself. The mind is the sole controller of the human body. The brain is located at the apex of the human body, whereas the mind at the navel. Wow, Bina, navel. Wonderful, wonderful remedies to dispel sorrows and worries. Life is nothing but the present. The past is like a garbage bin. Whenever you recall it, it is bound to emit a stench. Even the most intelligent human beings cannot live more than a moment at a time. A human being is provided with only one option if he truly wants to live, and that is the present. Personality. External personality, inner personality. There are two layers to an individual personality. One is external and the other is internal. The one who does not possess a strong inner personality is exposed by the entire world like a mere object. Man is not a machine that can be switched on and off according to other whims. Being influenced by others at the drop of a hat merely shows your lack of personality. It is the personality of an individual which enhances his life. Once you are in awe of someone, you stop learning from him. Only the one who is capable of standing alone in a crowd attains great success. The root of all the frustration of human being lies in his lack of personality. Complex. What we know as a person's superiority complex is nothing but the effort the person puts in conceal his inferiority. Paying attention to external factors strengthens your complex. A complex is a gift given by others. Every human being in this world is exceptional. Comparison is the progenitor of all the complexes of a human being. In reality, there's no such thing as a superiority complex. No one can ever be like anyone else. Complex is not the creation of nature. You will never be able to rid yourself of complex without accepting yourself as you are. Involvement. No one can ever be yours with others than your own yourself. No individual or thing possesses the power to make a person unhappy. A human being is unhappy because of its